Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about Blade Runner 2049. I like this movie. Overall, like this movie. I would watch it again. I saw this movie in 2017 when it came out. I believe I saw it twice. I saw it in the theater twice. I saw it once with my dad and once with a friend. This film is a brave film. It came out as a sequel to the 1982 Blade Runner. Man, I would not want to follow that film. Let's just say that. You have some pretty intense cult fans who cannot decide which edit they like the best, which one is real, what they count as truth. I wouldn't want to follow that. I would not want to be a scriptwriter. I would not want to be director. This film was directed by Denis Villeneuve, and I think he's a great director. Arrival is one of my favorite sci-fi movies ever. Arrival is so good. I'm a fan. I love Arrival. Arrival is so good. I will say, I think I would prefer Arrival to 2049. Maybe that's a hot take, I don't know. Arrival has that kind of weirdness that I really like that Blade Runner doesn't quite have. And that's not necessarily Blade Runner's fault. It is a weird film, but because it created such a boost in the neo-noir, a boost in the urban crawl dystopia, which huge deal for the genre. So many films are influenced by Blade Runner that Arrival kind of has this weirdness, this uniqueness, and Amy Adams to pull it all together, and I really enjoy that. This film has a lot of pros, a lot of cons. I think it was a mistake to cast Harrison Ford. I like Harrison Ford in very few films, I will admit. The Han Solo, Indiana Jones charm has never really worked on me. I like the Deckard character. I think that Harrison Ford does not emulate Deckard in the way that I would have preferred. He doesn't really have this quiet jadedness to him that I'd like to see that would occur in old age. The heartbreak that I feel like Deckard should have and would have, I did not see from Harrison Ford, which is fine. You know, I think a lot of people wouldn't have seen the film had Harrison Ford not been in it, which is understandable. Highlights from this movie include Dave Bautista. He had an excellent performance at the beginning of the film that I did not stop thinking about for the rest of the 2-hour, 48-minute film. Partially his lines were very good, but he also just had this wonderful delivery and this softness to him that, you know, really kind of melted him down because he was so buff, so hard, so rigid. And you could see that as someone who'd be a replicant, but then he kind of displays this softness that he has garnered from what he's seen in the world. And he explains that to Kay, our main character, Ryan Gosling. And I couldn't stop thinking about that performance for the rest of the film. I thought it was moving. I thought it was beautiful. And I really like Dave Bautista as an actor. He really has potential to be really amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing Bautista in the Dune film. I think that he and Villeneuve are actually a great pairing. I like them together. I think another highlight includes Ryan Gosling, of course. He did a great job. His explosion of emotion, it felt so built up. And it's hard to do that, honestly. Like when you're on set and you're working through, you know, weeks and weeks of filming and you're trying to have this small buildup of emotion over time, that's really hard to achieve, and I think he really nailed it. He explodes at one point and it feels so... It feels reminiscent of someone who has been told that they don't have emotions, someone who's been told they don't feel anything, which we see in our real human lives, and his explosion is realizing that it's wrong and that he's pushing against it, and that is his change. I think that performance was really excellent. I don't think he could have done it better. I think whatever take they got was the best one, and there was never going to be a better one. Wouldn't surprise me if it was a first take, because sometimes that can happen with a first take. It's just like someone nails it right away and it's like, okay, I don't know if we need another one. I really enjoyed the villain in this film. She's a replicant named Love, and she's very scary, very freaky, very cool. I like her. I don't like Jared Leto. He's freaky, and I don't normally like his acting. However, I must admit he's a good cast here, but he plays a freak in this movie, okay? But he's a freak in real life, so like how much acting is it really? You know? Whatever. He does a fine job. He's weird. There's one point where his eye line is really weird. Like he's talking to someone in conversation, but he's like looking around like he's talking to a crowd. Which I'm like, okay, how many people were on set? Where is he acting to the crew? Like, what's going on here? I don't know. I'm not a Jared Leto fan. He irritates me. Every time he's cast in a new movie, I'm like, oh, great. You know, like when Morbius came out, I was like, oh my god, when will they stop? Score in this film is good. There are points where I was getting annoyed at it, though. Because there were points in the film where the only reason I knew that we were supposed to have a sense of urgency was because of the score, which I think is not the best directing, I would say. I love the color palette of this film. I think that Villeneuve did an amazing job at replicating the kind of depressing, urban, trashy, dirty city, which is Los Angeles, but also kind of adding to the world building this like agrarian world that's orange and very dirty in its own way. You know, protein harvesting is just maggots and bugs and, you know, whatever. And, you know, I like seeing stuff like that. I like seeing the world being further built in just little ways, like here and there. I liked the idea that the replicants were, not all of them were part of this huge rebellion. Some of them really just wanted to live regular human lives, like as farmers or whatever. And I like seeing that. I think that's a great addition to the story and a good way to challenge the viewer a little bit and, you know, add to their palette what they've seen. Because when you have cult film enjoyers, like people who love Blade Runner, you know, they think they've seen it all. They've probably seen Blade Runner 8, 10, 12, 30 times. And, you know, they think, what more is Denis Villeneuve going to show me that I haven't seen or imagined myself already? I think he did a great job of that. That is very hard to do. I would be afraid. I would not want to mess with that. I also really enjoyed the memory maker lady. She was very cool. I thought her tool for creating memories, kind of looking like a camera lens, was very cool. I really enjoyed that. It's kind of like altering the view of a person and creating a memory. I really liked that. I thought her performance was really, really great. I really enjoyed her performance. I thought she probably had so little to go off of, and making something of that was probably very difficult, but she nailed it. She was amazing. I was kind of underwhelmed by Ana de Armas's performance, and this is partially not her. This is partially the depiction of how her character was going to be, the purpose of her character, what she did to exist. I really don't like it when a main character is having this weird romance thing going on at the same time. I generally really don't like that. I remember when Aquaman came out. This is the most like fervent memory that I have. It was Aquaman comes out. Aquaman and Mera have like this extremely platonic relationship for the entire movie and then kiss at the end. And I'm like, why are they kissing? They worked as a team the entire time and there was absolutely zero romantic or sexual tension between them. There's nothing here. It's completely shallow, completely empty. And I kind of felt that way about Ana de Armas and Ryan Gosling in this film. I felt like it was an attempt at being kind of sexy and horny, and it just wasn't. It was just kind of like weirdly two-dimensional, and I don't mean that as a joke. It's just like very shallow, very empty. And there's actually a really interesting article that kind of tackles that issue because it's kind of been a popular Hollywood issue as of late, and I will link that in the description. It's kind of weird, but it's basically about how everybody in Hollywood is gorgeous and sexy, but nobody is horny. All of the sex scenes are kind of just like happening, and you're just like, there's no emotion happening here. It's just movement. Why is this supposed to be here? And I really like that article. I think that they are right. Reading that article was really great for me because it explained to me why all of these sex scenes like put me off so much, because I was like, there's no reason for this. It can be explained away through the plot. Like, this is dumb. Why is this here? And it's because there's no actual intimacy that occurs in the scenes that makes it important for the characters. It's just happening either as a plot device or because the director's into it, whatever. Overall, this movie is visually stunning. I think there are some things missing from this film that could have been explored just a little bit more. I do think they nailed the existentialism. I think that thinking that you're one thing and then feeling like something is changing, something huge is occurring in your life and you're questioning everything about yourself, that is such an invigorating experience. And I think that so many films really fail to put that on screen and make it so that the audience can understand. But I think that this film actually does an amazing job of that, which is rare, uncommon. I would have liked to see, and this is kind of tied back to my last point, I do think I would have liked to see like the topic of like human sexuality kind of explored more. Like there was a lot of like beauty in this film and it was very long, but there some things were just a little bit hollow. And I don't know whether they didn't kind of jump in for it because they were focusing on something else or because they were thinking, okay, maybe the audiences wouldn't go for that, so let's just kind of hint at it and then move away. I also think that something like a replicant being able to give birth is very fascinating. They did such a great job at explaining how the concept of a replicant being able to reproduce is such a huge like gift of hope for everybody that's been scientifically created. And I think there was so much potential for this kind of realization scene towards the end. I'm not going to say it just because apparently some people who have watched this haven't seen it. But there's kind of a realization where, you know, the leader of this kind of rebellion says, you know, we all wish that it was us. And that scene could have been so cheesy, but I think they nailed it. It was great. Overall, this film was great. I would watch it again on purpose. This film did achieve the impossible, which is following up a film like Blade Runner. Brave. Just, that's all I have to say about that. Brave of them. There is a lot of potential for a future cinematic universe, as they say. I would encourage producers and executives to avoid that. You do not want to turn into a Blade Runner content farm because you become the demon that you're portraying. Something being soulless, something being two-dimensional and unimportant is exactly what you want to avoid when you are working with any type of art. And I think this film is the kind of thing you do not want to mess up, because this could have been bad, let's just say. It's very, very good that it turned out the way that it did. I would recommend it to most people, anyone who likes science fiction or anyone I know who enjoys a good cult movie now and then. I think I've only seen women review this film, so I'd be really interested in seeing a male review of this. I know Ryan Gosling and his characters have been kind of memed online because they are literally me characters, as they say. I'm so excited. Tomorrow I'm going to see the Barbie movie. I'm so excited to see him as Ken. He has this amazing Kenergy about him that's just perfect. I don't know, I don't feel like I have a whole lot to add about this film. I would be interested to do a little bit of research on how the cult audiences reacted when this first came out, because I was very detached from that group of people and that side of the internet at the time. So I would have been interested to know what the like really big cult fans would have thought of this film. I think not very many directors could have kept up with Ridley Scott visually, and luckily Villeneuve did. So I think that cuts out a lot of criticism. But the big fans, they will criticize anything. I read an article the other day about how Lord of the Rings book fans were so mad at Peter Jackson for anything and everything. So you cannot please everyone ever. But yeah, I think that's all I have to share. Watch it if you want. It's a cool movie. I would say watch one of the Blade Runner cuts first. Just with Blade Runner, just watch the theatrical release. Like, I know a lot of people are so diehard fans of the director's cut. I say watch the first original theatrical release of Blade Runner first, and then kind of circle back and see what else you can find in the other edits, because there are several.